Hello, hello, hello. This is Tom from Tom and Ruth Philippine Adventures. Today, I want to talk about something. It's Friday. It's, I don't know, 5:30 in the evening. Another beautiful day. We actually did some work in the yard and got the yard cut, and so kind of getting things straightened up. Today, I want to talk about, I get this question asked, and I guess quite a few guys have actually talked about this, but what I want to talk about today is what if you're at the 3-year extension for your visa and your tourist visa, and what do you do if you're here in the Philippines? Now, a lot of foreigners have, when they first came here, did the tourist visa and then ended up getting married and just never did get a marriage visa or a SRV. A lot of guys, what they did was they just came here and just did their thing and just never to worry about it because everything was fine. But since the honey badger has happened, a lot of guys have found themselves in a bad territory. What are they going to do? Where are they going to go? Well, right now what they're doing is if you go to your local Bureau of Immigration office, there is a form that you can fill out and send into the Bureau of Immigration. It's basically saying for consideration that you're close up to your, and I would go a few months before your 36 months is due. Now, if you're applying for SRVs, you guys know people have kind of put a stop to that. They put a stop to that here. So, but if you're going and you're at your 36 months, I would go in there and I would talk to them about filing for reconsideration. And basically what it is saying that you've been here, the flights are hard to find, and you'll have to get some documents. One of the documents you'll need to get is one from the attorney saying that you tried to do the very best that you can, to leave, and it's going to be kind of hard for you to leave during this time. But anyway, you submit the paper back to the BI, and they submit for reconsideration. Now, you may have where you can actually get a reply back in, I would say probably it could take a month or 2 months or 3 months for a reply to come back. It may take longer depending on how many's in there. Now, some people have stated that different things that you can do to stay, but it depends on the Bureau of Immigration office itself and the officer that's working at the office. The easiest way is to make sure that you go in there and ask for reconsideration, and that you do what they say. And then what they'll do, they'll type the information into the form, type it online, and put it and submit it. Now, with that, once you'll get that paper submitted, you'll have to take that paper and DHL to Manila, and you'll have to make sure you send a copy of it so you know they get it and things like that, because they need to receive that. Once they make a decision on what you need to do, they will send you back the information, what they decided. If there are fines, if there are fees, if there are something that you need to do, they will instruct that in that particular form. Some forms are stating that they have to pay a fine because they overstayed 2 months or 3 months, or they're getting close to the date that they'll need to exit the country. Most of the time what's happening is a lot of them are trying to file for a visa, a different visa to stay. If you're not married, that can be quite complicated. But really, you just never know. I would submit the paperwork and see what happens. Some have already left the Philippines that were close to their stay, and they told them what they needed to do, and they paid the particular fees to do that. And then when things open back up, they can come back to the Philippines. But if you're close to the 36 and you don't have the 13A because you're not married, or you did not do the SRV before the date they stopped it, or the other visas, there are certain circumstances of consideration that offsees the other, and that is medical, things like that, meaning if you caught the virus or you were sick or you had other things that happened during that time and you really can't leave. It's just impossible for that situation because you're under hospital and things like that. So there is reconsideration, and they'll look at that and of course make a decision upon that. I do know of a couple people that had that happen because they caught the honey badger and they're still here and they passed their time. But what they had to do is once they get well, once they get to a certain state, they just pay the fines and fees. Now, they don't charge you full rate for overstay. They're very, very nice and very helpful that way. The fees can vary depending on the time that you left and what fines fees are. Usually it's a lot less than what you think it would be. They're very considerate because they understand the situation. Now, what happens is you need to always make sure that you make copies of everything that you submit, and make sure you make copies of like if you got a document copied or something, because they're going to require you get an MBI. They're going to require you get a letter from an attorney. They're going to require certain things like that. So make sure you keep copies of everything. And when you do go to the BI, NBI, and the BI, make sure you wear long pants and a nice shirt. Don't go in there a pair of shorts and a pair of flip-flops. You will not gain entry into those places. They are strict on that. In a lot of offices, people have been declined to go in, and they had to go purchase a pair of pants and shoes to gain entry into the offices. And it's understandably so, because it's a sign of respect. There are people that have filed for the SRV and are waiting for the consideration to come back, and this is before they stopped it. They're in that process. There are people that have filed for reconsideration for the past the 36 month, and they're waiting on that. A lot of people that I know have been passed from August on this year, the ones that contacted me. I don't know. And there's been many. I'm not going to say how many. There's been many. There's been more than 10. So what they have done, some have left the Philippines. They've paid their fines and dues, and they can come back under a new program, whatever program it's going to be. And it seems to be it's the 9A. Now, a 9A visa. And what it is just refiling that particular document. Now, if you have family here, things like that, some people have left because they had family here. They were not married at that particular time, but they had to leave because the 36 months were up. Some got married, some did not. Some said, well, we're waiting because of these reasons. It's many different reasons for whatever that is. But like I said, you go down to your local BI. They're very nice. They're very considerate. They're very, very, very nice. You're not going to find any. They're just really nice about it. And you're going to ask them because my friend said that when he went in there, they gave him the form to fill out and what he had to fill out and what he needed from the MBI and what he needed to do and this, that, and other. They gave him a list of things that he needed to do, and they're really nice about it. He submitted them back, I think he said 2 months ago. He is still here. His 36 months is up in December, like mid-December, like 15th or something. So he has to leave. He already paid all the fees, and he's going to leave and then come back whenever they open up again next year. So he's setting all that up now presently. They were nice and considerate about it, and they were very congenial about what he needed to do about coming back in the Philippines. Now, sometimes you'll find that they may grant an extension for 30, 60 days, depending on the particular circumstances. Sometimes maybe 6 months or maybe a little longer than that. But some offices, if you're presently on a tourist visa and it's not out until next year, some offices are given 6 months, some are given 2 months, and some are given 1 month. This depends on where you're at and where you're going here in the Philippines. All the prices are basically the same, but what they're doing is depending, you can get 30-day or 60-day extensions or longer. My friend said in Davao he got 6 months. Another friend told me in Davao they only gave him 2, and he asked for 6. And his visa's not up until next year at this time in 2021 of October. So it's just, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But I know I've gotten so many questions about this, and I know many of the guys out there have done videos on this, and many questions have been asked about this. But I suggest that you go down there and talk to them. It's best to always be upfront and honest and not walk away from your visa, because you don't want to be caught if you get sick and go to the hospital or something like that and you have to show your passport and you have no visa stamp. You want to be able to show that. You want to be able to show if they stop you on the street and ask you for your visa stamp. Not saying they do, but you just never know. I'm just saying that you don't want to, so you want to be above the board with them here. And they're very helpful. It's not like, they're going to, angry and done you and this, that, and other, but they're very helpful about that. And that's what I really I like there are companies out there that will help you during this time and help you file the paperwork if you're filing for certain visas. But a lot of people just doing them themselves, especially online during this time, are doing it themselves. Some, like I said, some Americans that are on a tourist visa, they're presently on tourists, they're asking them to get the appropriate visa if they're married, and so the guys are doing that now presently. And so that really helps out to the ones that are doing that. And there are quite a few Americans that are here that were just under Bleak Bion, or like my friend's under Bleak Bion here in town, and his is up in November, this month here. So they gave him a 6-month extension, and what they did, they took him down from Bleak Bion and put him on a tourist visa, and so he can stay now for a period of time. I don't know if it's the 3 years. I did not ask him that, but they did do it, and they gave him a 6-month extension. So he has a 6-month extension where he was supposed to leave on the yearly Bleak Bion visa, and he is now staying here. Sometimes what you'll find also is that some of the guys will tell you one thing, but the best thing to do is always just go down there and ask them. And even what I am telling you, go down there and ask them exactly what you need to do. Because each office can be different. Each office does have different availability of decisions. Because each province and barangay is different, and each area is different in what it is. But here where I'm at, here in Davao and CDL, the requirements they're pretty strict on that, and I appreciate that, and I understand that. So if you're going to do it, the best thing to do it right and not mess around with it, right? Because you want to be able to come back to this wonderful country. You want to be able to come back to your wonderful fiance or girlfriend or wife or whatever that you have, or your family here, right? So, sorry, but I just had to do that. I just today alone, quite a few people have asked me about that. My internet's been so horrible because we're under a power outage now, and I have solar, but the PLDT and Globe does not have solar on their towers. They have what they call their setup. So I just want to tell everybody, just make sure that you do your due diligence. I want to thank everybody for always watching our videos, and thank you so much. God bless.